Stampers. This is Marie Bennett with blackberriesandcream.net. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I wanted to play with my February 2015 Paper Pumpkin stamp set. Paper Pumpkin is a monthly craft kit that you can subscribe to, and every month you get a surprise craft project that's complete in a box. You don't have to buy anything extra other than scissors and maybe glue or tape, some kind of adhesive. Alright, well, this stamp set came in February this year, and I really like the images in this stamp set, so I'm going to use this image right here, this sentiment right here, and the word thanks to create kind of a, I guess, I don't know if it's bohemic or not, but you know, kind of an interesting design thank you card. Alright, let's get started. To create this background paper, I started with a piece of Whisper White cardstock that I cut to 4 by 5 1/4, and the first layer of ink on the paper is going to be Tip Top Taupe, and I just want to make a little, I don't want any straight lines really, but I just want a small area of Tip Top Taupe at the bottom, like that. First time I did it, I was trying to think about hills, you know, about nature. You've got the dirt, and then you've got the grass, and then you've got the sky, and that's kind of was my thinking. Alright, so now the Wild Wasabi color is going to come down like that. And it's not a solid image. You don't really want a solid image. You want it kind of streaky, you know, as though it were painted, because with this embossing technique I was really going for some like mosaic tile type look. Okay, so now the Island Indigo over the top of all 3 layers. And maybe a little more Island Indigo at the top. There we go. And then the last color is Crushed Curry. There. Next step is to use my Mosaic Madness embossing folder, and I'm going to run this through the Big Shot. Okay, so I have run the paper through the Big Shot, and you can see the mosaic tile design on the paper, but I want to give it a sheen and make it look as though it really were a ceramic looking effect. First time I did this, I used this embossing folder with the hexagons, and I put it through the Big Shot first, and then kind of drug a crumb cake pad over it, and then proceeded with the technique that we're going to use to finish this piece of designer series paper. So in order to do that, you need your Versamark pad or some kind of an embossing ink pad, and I'm using this Ranger pad because I've kind of already messed it up, so I'll just continue my wayward ways with this embossing pad until I've just ruined it, I guess. So I just want to get it good and coated with the embossing medium, so that when I put the clear embossing powder on there, it will stick and coat this piece of cardstock really well. So I think that's probably good enough. And now I have some clear embossing powder. And I really have no technique. I just sprinkle it on over my little tray here because I don't want to make a huge mess, which is what I usually do. Okay, now I'm going to get my heat gun, and when this is finished, I'll be right back. Alright, so this piece of Designer Series paper is embossed. It's both embossed with the folder and heat embossed using a clear embossing powder. And it gives off a very, I don't know, it brightened up the colors and it gives it a glossy kind of a sheen to the paper, but it almost looks like wet, like it's got a water droplets here and there on it. It's very pretty. So we've finished this layer of the card, and the next layer we need to work on is the one that is created using this image from the February Paper Pumpkin stamp set. So I'll take another sheet of, actually I'm going to take 2 sheets of Whisper White Designer Series paper cut to the same dimensions, 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to create 2 pages at the same time. One with a full strength because I am using the stamping off technique to create this muted paper. But I didn't want to waste the ink, so I stamped it off, creating another sheet of DSP while I was at it. So I'm going to follow the same pattern: Tip Top Taupe, Wild Wasabi, Island Indigo, and Crushed Curry, and then repeat. And this time I'm going to try it using the same kind of block that you will get if you subscribe to Paper Pumpkin. In your first Paper Pumpkin kit, you will get this size D acrylic stamping block, because all of the stamps in the Paper Pumpkin kits now are photopolymer, and so you'll need this stamping block for all of your crafting projects. So hang on to it. If you become a new subscriber, hang on to this block. You'll use it every month. Alright, so we're going to start with Tip Top Taupe. And I'm not going to complete this whole thing on camera because it takes a while, but I'll just show you basically how it works. Okay, so I'm going to line up the edge of the stamp on the paper, and I hope it's lined up. I can't really tell with the camera being where it is. I smudged, so I'm turning it over, getting a new piece. Alright, try again. And this time I'm looking to see if I got some ink, and I do. It's almost worth your time to have a cloth that you can wipe your block off when you're doing this kind of repeated stamping. Okay, so here we go. Line it up, stamp. Now that's my stamp off, and my muted one is going to be without re-inking. I just stamp that image again over here. I want to repeat, but I have to turn the stamp upside down so that the these edges will line up and create and continue the pattern if I'm lucky. Okay, that turned out pretty good. Now I don't want to ink up again because this is the muted one. Alright, Okay, the next color I'm going to be using is Wild Wasabi, and I don't want Tip Top Taupe in my Wild Wasabi stamp pad, so I have a somewhat damp cloth and I just kind of dab it off. Okay, now I want a full image here, and I'm going to line it up so that I don't want this under there right now. I'm going to line it up so that my little diamonds fill in without touching the Tip Top Taupe. Now I don't want to ink it, re-ink, because I want the muted one. Alright. Now just like we did before, we have to turn the stamp around. I'm stamping on a piece of craft foam. Which works really well with these photopolymer things, and it's pretty cheap, so once you get it all mucked up, you can throw it away without wasting a lot of money. Okay, there's the full image. Alright, so you can see how this works. And you're just going to continue down the page until your full strength one is done, and when your full strength one is done, then your muted page will be done too. So I have finished my 2 sheets of Designer Series background paper. This one I'll save for another project for another day, and this one is for the card we're working on right now. So I'll put that over there. And we finished the mosaic embossed background paper, and now the stamping that's left to do is to stamp this image for the front, and then a piece of Whisper White that goes in the inside of the card in thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm using Island Indigo for both images. I'll start with the card liner. And I'm just going to center it right here. I think it's centered, I don't know. The way I have this camera, I can't really see. Okay. And now for this is vellum, just a scrap of vellum that I have from some other project. So I'm going to stamp that also in Island Indigo. I'm going to be running it through the Big Shot, so it doesn't matter if it's centered on the vellum or not. So we'll just let that dry. It takes a little longer for it to dry on the vellum than it does on the cardstock. Alright, I am finished with stamping, so I'm going to get organized. I'll be right back. So using my Tombow Mono Liquid Glue, I have adhered half of that mosaic embossed paper to the front of the card. So I cut it at 2 inches. And now the other half of the card is going to be covered in this piece of paper that I just stamped, and I cut it to 2.5 inches. And what I'm going to do next is wrap a piece of this, what do they call this, gold baker's twine, around the card. And I'm just getting a measurement right now because I want to have plenty to tie a knot, but not so much that I waste it. So I'm going to cut it right there. Pardon my reach. And then I want to measure off about 4 lengths of if you look at this, it has a little, this twine has a little bend here and there where it was wrapped around this piece of cardboard. So I measure off 4 bends, whatever that is, and just cut it. And I'm not using all of this twine, I'm just going to use the gold foil part. So I want to take the gold off, and so you do that by just kind of giving it a tug like that, and just gently tug at it until you get the foil away from the twine. Okay. Now I'm going to fold this in 4s, okay, so, and see how I like it at that point. There's 2. Oh, it's going to be still too long, so I'm going to fold it one more time, and that's about right, I think. So I'm going to cut where it's doubled, right here and right here and right here. Alright, so now what I've really got is 8 little pieces of gold foil. And that I'm going to tie in this knot. Just a little, I don't even know what you call this, so just a little crossover knot. I'm not impaired. Spelled with a K. Alright, so, alright, now I've got this foil and my little knot, and everything is longer than I want it to be. So I'm going to take a minute and trim it off, and when it's just the way I want it, I'll get back to you. Well, the gold foil has a mind of its own on this card, and it's having a bad hair day, and I'm just going to leave it alone. So the next step is going to be to cut the greeting that goes right here, and I'm going to be using the 3rd size up from the squares thinlits that are sold by Stampin' Up. So I'll take this over, run it through the Big Shot. I'll be right back. To stick this onto the front of the card, I'm using glue dots. And the glue dots, when you use glue dots with vellum, you can see the glue dots through the vellum. So what I'm going to do is kind of roll this up and make it small, and I'm going to put 1 glue dot on each corner. Okay, so you can see that I have put 1 little glue dot on each corner, so I'm just going to press this onto the card. Try to get it where I want it. Alright, and now to hide the little glue dot, I'm using the Neutrals Candy Dots from Stampin' Up. And to put those on, I use my paper piercing tool. You can figure out however you want to do it. And I think I want to use this color right here. Don't know what it is. Looks like it could be soft suede. And I'm going to just cover up each little glue dot. These candy dots have their own adhesive. Alright, so now you can't see the glue dot behind the vellum. The reason I like the vellum is it shows the pattern through behind there. Okay, so I've already put the greeting on the inside of the card, and this card is finished. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I just hope that you appreciate how versatile the Paper Pumpkin product is. It's not just a kit that you use and play with the month you get it, but you can keep the stamps and the ink and use them for years. It's a very good value. If you want to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, follow the link in the description of this video below. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping.